before we start, any questions? Anything you want me to talk about?
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. So yeah, thank you.
Is it Oliver or Ollie?
It's, well, I go always by Ollie, O-L-I, so not O-L-L-I-E. And it's the first three letter, and my name is Olivier. Because I'm from Switzerland. My dad was from the French part of Switzerland, and Olivier means the olive tree. So I always hated olives until recently because they're so healthy, but I just, didn't like my name, couldn't do a good signature with it, and then figured it out. Yeah, it's Olivier, but they call me Doctor.
And then last name?
Wenker. Yeah, W-E-N-K-E-R, so just buy a book and then you have it and I'll sign it. Good. So, yeah, what we want to do today is just very informal, right? I want to talk a little bit about things like that because I just got very angry the last 2 years, I must say. And why did I get angry? Is I'm watching mostly Europe. We are still we're not good here, but we're so much better than Europe or Asia when it comes to these lockdowns and mandates and all of that. And I'm just looking out into the world and I'm saying, okay, why do we have so many problems, right? So I studied the history of pandemics. And when you go back, and I do a little free flow here, right? And so if you want to hear more about this, I can just flick right away. But this is pretty timely, right? So when you go back into the history of pandemics, you see like 2,000–3,000 years ago, entire empires disappeared within 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, right? From viruses, bacteria, I mean the smallpox. I mean 2/3 of Japan got wiped out by smallpox that came over from Korea, right? Look at the plague, right? The plague is a bacterium that lives basically in the hair of rats. And then when the trade ships went into the harbors and they brought them over, it started again in Asia. A lot of that stuff started in Asia, and I love Asia. I mean, so I go as much as I can. But they came over, and then in Italy and other ports in Europe, these rats just jumped up, and the fleas then jumped from the rat to the human and started biting the human. And that's how this bacterium, they had no idea at the time what it was. But for about 800 years or so, we had four huge pandemics. And at that time, pandemic meant just Europe, right? Because it was not like today, you just jump on an airplane and you just go around the world twice in 24 hours. And so it wiped out something like, you take all pandemics together with the plague, it's about 800 million people, right? And we were not that populated as we are today. So it really wiped out entire regions, cities, and all that. And so you fast forward into the early 1910 or so with the Spanish flu, which is not a Spanish flu. It was a US and German flu. It was World War I, and the soldier got it, but the Spanish reported it. And so everybody said it was like the first fake media kind of thing. When you go in history of fake media, they said this is the Spanish flu. It had nothing to do with Spain, but because these guys reported it first, it was called the Spanish flu. And then you move on into the 40s, 50s, then we start getting a lot of stuff out of Africa. Certainly viruses, strange viruses, things like that. Again, smallpox, just throughout history coming back. We go into the 60s, 70s. Some of you remember, we start certainly hearing stuff down there. Everybody goes like in moon suits and tries to do, and just like in the 90s, we start seeing all these movies in the movie theaters, right? Where these like, and writing books about, all these spreading things. But just think about it. Since the year 2000, we had about 12 to 14 pandemics. Are you aware of that? That means in average, every 2 years we have a pandemic. Swine flu, there were different avian flus, there was SARS, there was MERS, these are all COVID viruses or SARS viruses. And now the monkeypox starts, right? I mean, we're not sure yet how that's going to go. And I can just tell you, in another 1 or 2 years, it's the next one. And I think we're going to see many more of these SARS viruses come. And so I'm just getting mad when I see the way we handle this, right? So in the beginning, lockdowns, okay, we are so overwhelmed with the hospitals, yeah, we need to do something because, poor physicians, healthcare providers, they just don't know what to do. So probably, okay, stay home until we have everything under control. But there came the time we had it under control, and I'm looking at countries like Austria, which is almost worse than China. I mean, you walk your dog in the forest alone, there's nobody around and you have no mask on, and there's a police guy behind the tree, he will fine you $300. The second time, $1,500, and the third time, you almost go to jail. You know, if you're not vaccinated, you stay home, and you have to apply on a form to be able to go and shop. And so what we're seeing now is the first studies after 2 years look at all these mandates that happen, and what we see is that it was a huge disadvantage, with the only exception to delay and give the health personnel in the hospitals and drug makers, whatever, a little time to get where they need to go. But today, that should be all kind of known. The latest, which you see since about a month now, all the little children, 1, 2 years old, we see a huge spike in RSV, which is a special respiratory virus. We see adenoviruses we haven't seen for decades. And they all pop up almost at the same time. So these are all, I mean, this little 2-year-old, so 1-year-old, and I have a grandchild, 2.5-year-old, is right now sick with one of those viruses and probably has a second one on top of it. So we just need to second question what we do. And so what does that have to do with the book? When I wrote this book, I wasn't okay with that. But I got so angry because when I look at what happened in the last 2 years, here in the US and elsewhere, the average weight gain was 28 pounds in the first year of COVID. 28 pounds. Last year was a little bit better, it was about 17 pounds. In the first year, 20% of the US population gained more than 50 pounds. And we were already obese to start with. So when you look what happened in the press and you read the papers, who is suffering from these viruses? I mean, from this C virus, right? Who is dying from it? Are the obese people, mostly. Now, my wife is very thin. She had a very hard time with it, but she has an autoimmune disease. That's just a specialty. But so what we need to do is to really get our life back into control. And with that, I don't mean the vaccine. So I'm not pro or against. I'm a physician. I've seen good and bad, right? So you do whatever you want. I feel much safer today in this crowd, where I know we have a lot of anti-vaxxer and anti-maskers, because I'm pretty sure you already had it once or twice. Your antibodies are way better than those who have the vaccines. I mean, just be aware. Vaccines go about 3 to 6 months, and then they really rapidly go down. And you have to get these, you're good for about a year, almost 1.5 years. So I feel much more comfortable. I have no mask on. I get it. Who cares? I had it 3 months ago, so I should be fine. So what does this have to do with this, right? I mean, I don't want to sell books here, right? So why I talk about COVID? Well, because we need to get control of our immune system, right? And this book is all about how to clean up your life, right? I don't know if you got the book. I wrote it like 3 years ago, and this book sold now 800,000 times. It reached 1 million, so that's going to be pretty cool. But it's just simple things, right? And when you talk to your friends and you talk about Young Living, it's easy because we have so many products, but it's difficult because we have so many products. You just, when you give them a catalog, they're going to just blank out. They're going to say, okay, but so many things, what do I need to do? And that's why I wrote this book. I'm guiding you through 12 months, and every month I'm telling you what's the lowest hanging fruit that you can start with, that is easy, that your friend will understand, you will understand, how you can save yourself, your family, your pets, and then not blast the environment, right? Which was all what Gary represented. And I gave Gary, he was my best friend, I gave him my promise that I would, fulfill and continue this mission to do that. And so the book was just one way to kind of do that. So let's just grab one of those low-hanging fruits, right? We are in contact with about 350 chemicals every single day, right? You women, you use about 80 of those before breakfast in general. And this is not US. I mean, there's studies in Europe, there's studies in Asia, here. It's just like we are just using chemicals everywhere. Our household, I'm not even talking about your makeup unless you use, healthy grounded stone and vegetables like you have with your salad lines and other lines. But all these chemicals, you know what they are? They are estrogen. So we are, as a population, and I'm not just talking about women, I'm talking men too, we are estrogen overloaded. We have way too much estrogen, which means we have too low progesterone and too low of testosterone. Now, both these sides and the big estrogen will have consequences for your life. Where do you think the body produces most of the estrogen? I mean, you women, you think you have a, when you open up a woman, you can go in there like a handbag and it's full of stuff out there. I mean, you have uterus and ovaries and all these things that you find. It's not there. You think that's where your estrogen is produced. The most of the estrogen is produced in your fat cell. And it's produced by converting testosterone into estrogen, interestingly. So we go so fast through that testosterone, immediately converted into estrogen in the fat cell and produce more and more. So when we get obese, it means our estrogen goes very high already, and then because we're obese, we produce even more. And so we see just an increase in all these female cancers, and not just for females, also male get female cancers these days. And then we see, stuff like insomnia go up like crazy, depression go up like crazy, hair loss, all these things, because it has consequences, right? Hormones play in a symphony together. And if you are off with one of the hormones, it's like one player that is really playing ugly. I mean, the whole concert, it sucks, right? I mean, it doesn't sound right. And the same thing in your body, right? So if one is really dominant, and this is why we call estrogen dominance, and many of you probably have heard that from your physician, that you're estrogen dominance. Now, there's a time in life where you're naturally estrogen dominant. But being too low in progesterone makes you not feel good, makes you not sleep. So progesterone you should take in the evening. Right? We have like Progestins Plus here and some other interesting oregano and thyme would be two good oils for progesterone. Most oils that we have are more estrogenic, right? So we should not talk about disease, but because I'm a physician, I get all these texts, I don't know how many times a day, and I have this cancer, that cancer, what should I take? I just don't know, because it depends on the genetics. Today, for everything we do, we need to go into the cell and see how the cell is working. And the secret is we can crack that cell. We can crack that Da Vinci code that is in the cell. Because your message that you got from mom and dad that is hidden in the chromosomes, in the cell, in the nucleus, in the core, it's being split apart and then it's being copied. Right? And now you hear all about mRNA vaccines. Well, that's where they got it from. We make a copy we call RNA from the DNA. And then we have a mRNA, which is the messenger, and a tRNA, which is the transport vehicle for the mRNA. So this is where this thing comes from, right? So we had it all along. So if somebody said, ooh, I don't want mRNA vaccines because mRNA is like toxic, well, guess what? You're full of mRNA. I mean, this is how we function. So going back to this hormone balance, everybody's low in testosterone, right? And again, why do I tell that? Because this is a low-hanging fruit. You can all grab a plastic bag, which is toxic by itself, needs to go anyway, right? And you go to your household, you start in your bathroom probably, and under the sink, and you open all your cabinets where you have all these, those people that produce these toxins, they have moon suits on. They have like big filters like to breathe. They have these gloves on that are like that thick. And you just put that in your face. I mean, just think about these things, right? And the older you get, because these things destroy your skin. I mean, it's not just about makeup, right? And we'll just go to cleaning products and all these things. And there's a whole chapter about makeup here too. So when you use a regular makeup, which over 90% of them, way over 90% are highly toxic, right? So you're damaging your skin. You just do the opposite of what you want to do. And have you seen the normal progression of using makeup for 20, 30, 40, 50 years? Then suddenly you're going to see a woman at 60 or 70, and the makeup is about a half an inch thick, right? Because she has to cover up so much damage from the makeup from 30, 40 years. And then she starts laughing, it's like an earthquake, and the whole building comes down, right? And that's how it works, right? So you have to really read labels, right? Lipsticks. I mean, do you know how much lipstick you eat per year? Or even per day? I mean, you're eating that lipstick. Yeah. You go like this, right? It's on the ground, it's here, and then you renew because you think it's cool, right? And you look good. Well, it's full of lead, arsenic, and all these things. So over 90% of lipstick have arsenic in it. It's just like that and lead. Right? So you need to know these things, and that's where it becomes important that you go with like toxin-free products, right, on the personal care side. They all mess up your hormones again. It's all estrogenic typically, but it's also toxic for many other things. And you start getting obese more and more and more. So it's really a vicious cycle, and I'll talk tomorrow a little bit about that. When we are in this vicious cycle that many of us are in, we have almost no way to get out. Because now we're leaving the health space, which Young Living is occupying. We're all about wellness, health, fitness, beauty. And now you're going down into the non-so-ease space, the disease space, right, where you don't feel at ease. And you give the power that you have about your own body, you give that to someone like me. And then I do prescriptions, right? We know that the average American has 7 medications. The average American. It's not uncommon for me as a physician to see someone with 40 medical drugs. And so you run into this vicious cycle where you get your first medicine. It has a bunch of side effects because it's a megadose of a single thing. Nature doesn't produce megadoses of a single thing, right? Nature produces, like the peppermint oil, is like 200-300 compounds. It's well balanced. It goes to different places in your body. Doesn't create side effects, right? This is why wellness products are healthy. They promote wellness. But medical drugs, they just look, what does nature do? So lavender is a very good example. There's a whole chapter about lavender here, right? Lavender, people realized hundreds of years ago, you smell lavender, you're cool. I'm allergic against bees. I can go in the lava field and just push away the bees. They're so peaceful, right? I wouldn't do that anywhere else, right? My son is right there. Yeah. So, I do stupid stuff in my backyard, right? And so here bees come and I get like I'm allergic and wasps and something like 27 stings and then he's running after me because my wife tells him go and get the epi-strings and he's running after me and I'm running away from him because I don't want to have the 28 stings, right, with the epi-strings. And so I did it all naturally and luckily we didn't have to use it. But so where do I go with all this? It's just like, okay, allergies, where did I start? So this is me, right? I'm going up like here, I'm going up like there. But again, it's lavender. That's where we started, right? Lavender is calming. So you know that. So you have a baby, you put a little lavender on the foot, the baby suddenly gets tired and falls asleep, and then everybody wants lavender. Well, so science, about 100 years ago, they started understanding that there's something like a receptor. Meaning there's something on the cell surface, somewhere in your body, that will react with lavender. And so you take lavender, it goes there, and it opens a door, or something happens in the cell, and typically, it's a complicated word, lavender goes amongst other receptors to a GABA receptor. GABA is just a complicated word, a long word. And it's in your brain. So when you take lavender, valerian, bergamot, ylang-ylang, they all go to that receptor, and you get calm. Right? So many of our oil plants should be in your bedroom, in your aroma diffuser, and you get calm. So what did pharmaceutical industry do? They said, oh, let's see where this lavender goes. And so they put a little light on the lavender, fluorescent light, and they just watch it on a big, modern screen. And they say, oh, it goes there, GABA receptor. Ah, that's pretty cool. Let's design a drug that will go to that receptors. Boom, benzodiazepines, Xanax, Valium, all of these, right? So that's lavender, valerian, right? But it's the pharmaceutical version of it with the megadose, single dose, just not only that, and you get 4 pages of side effects. And now you have side effects from that, and now you need another medication to treat the side effect, and another one to do this, and this is how we get into this polypharmacy, we call it. So, low-hanging fruits, your household, your shampoo, your toothpaste, all of that stuff are low-hanging fruits for you. Do you know that infertility is a huge problem today? Do you know why? I told you why. Estrogen, right? Got a little echo. Is that okay for you guys? You still hear me? There's still 1 or 2 seats. So we are not balanced with our hormones anymore. So how do you want women to get pregnant when they're not balanced anymore? And it's not just the women. I'm not going to just blame women. Do you know that, we're a little older, right? We had a testosterone level that was 2 to 3 times higher than our peers at that age when we were like 30 years younger. And I still have a higher testosterone level than most 30, 40 years old here. Why? Because they're all, Young Living is a little different, but I'm just talking about in general. All of these toxins that we have in the household, in the laundry cleaner, that stuff is in contact with your skin. It absorbs into the skin, right? all of these things, soaps, household cleaners, shampoo. Shampoo, you go in the shower, it's hot, open pores. You get all these toxins just coming into your body, right? All of that stuff. And then you go and want to buy something organic. I mean, organic is so much better than non-organic. But you think the wind cares where it carries the toxins when the neighbor is spraying the field? I mean, all these organic fields are now contaminated with plastic and with glyphosate and all that stuff. It's still better than not, but it's all estrogen. And so when we look at studies, and this was a big, big question mark about 8 years ago, these studies started popping up, where we looked at testosterone levels of men because we realized, man, there's so much infertility. I mean, you go to every big city, there's on every corner is an infertility clinic. And I'm sure you know young couples that want to have a baby and don't get it. You know what you tell them? Take that toxic plastic bag, go to your house, throw away anything that looks toxic to you and replace it with healthy stuff. 3-4 months later, a lot of these couples who already spent 10,000s on whatever treatment will get pregnant. Right? I mean, it's not a solution for everyone, but I have seen so many couples already getting pregnant. You start rebalancing these hormones and rebalancing this high estrogen. So, any question to kind of these hormone levels? And I mean, I can go. I mean, this is a family-friendly show. We can also talk about sperm, right? So it's like the sperm today is only 58% of what it used to be, and about half of that is not mobile and is sick. I mean, sick sperm. So this is another reason on the male side. And why is it? It's all because the glyphosate out there, the fertilizer, pesticide, all the solvents that are used in your nutrition. I mean, when the EPA did studies on fruit and vegetables, and you can read all these studies in the book. When they did studies, they found out that 97% of all fruit and vegetables contain contaminants, right? Organic vegetables are much better than organic fruits. They don't look as nice, but they're much healthier. So, but they're still they also contaminate. But look, you want to be completely healthy and completely away from all the toxins. You need to go somewhere in the jungle. And you will not survive the night because some snake or tiger will get you. So, we just need to get common sense in this whole thing. You're cleaning. Let's talk about cleaning, right? So you're cleaning with the household cleaner, right? Now, I know you're good because you're living, and I assume you all have the bees clean. But when you look at studies, I don't know why they only looked at women, because I think I use the household cleaner way more than my wife because I'm always behind our dogs and we clean, like all that. But the average use of a spray, household cleaner spray, is 4 times a week. I don't know how that happens because by me it's like 40 times a day. But maybe we're just dirty people. I don't know. But so 4 times a week, and it's typically a toxic household spray. So when you look at the studies, what does it hit? Because it's a spray, it's like aromatherapy, so you do aromatherapy with toxins. It gets into your lung. So they calculated the lung damage. They looked at, how much do you use household cleaners? 10 years later, 20 years later, what is your lung doing? And then they looked at professional cleaners, right? The cleaning groups that come in a hotel everywhere. They're exposed to 130 chemicals every single day just from the cleaning products. And they also do this and spray and brush teas and shampoo. So all of that is on top of it, right? So when they looked at the studies, and again, the study references are in the book, it's the equivalent of smoking 1 pack of cigarettes a day for 20 years. That's the use of household cleaning. Right? Now just think about it. Smoking 1 pack, and now by now in the US that smoking is bad. You go to Europe, I come back, everything still smells smoke. They all smoke. But it's coming down also now, slowly. They have like non-smoking corners, and then the whole restaurant smokes, and you're in the one corner, and everything comes to you. Right? But so just be aware of what insult you have on your body. I mean, it's just like terrible. And so they look at these professional cleaners. At the age of 55, 60, many of them stop working. They have to because they have asthma, they have COPD, they cannot breathe anymore, they cannot walk the stairs anymore to clean the rooms upstairs and all these things. So it's really, really heavy. Works hard. Okay. So I don't know how do I do with time. Let's just see. And I'm just going like, I know what I wrote in the book a few years ago, and I'm just going like a little chapter after chapter. Yeah, I have to go down. So, and by the way, just to let you know, so this is the book that has all the colorful pictures, so what I did, I picked the low-hanging fruits, and then I said, okay, you all young living, brand partners, right, or team members, whatever, distributors, And so you should buy roughly 400 bucks on the PV. So this whole product selection every month is based on 100 PV. And at the end of each chapter is a table. And I say, okay, if you buy this, you hit all these low-hanging fruits, and you get 100 PV. And then I add up all the freebies with the loyalty points and all that, so the further back you go, the more rich you get, right, on the freebies. So it's like Young Living, it's like the real world. So I just walk my way through the body with this book, and through the environment, the hormones, the men, the women, sport, brain, gut. So, and this is just a little one that is black and white, has the tables, but doesn't have, it's just condensed and has no reference in it. This has like 600 references or so. When I wrote this, I was like at almost 2,000 references, but then the book was like that, and just like, you cannot read it. So this is a quick read, and this is even quicker. So what I do when I talk to people, and I'm just like, I'm just radiating kind of this stuff out of me, because that's just my life. I just say, look, they say, oh, that's interesting. I just give them one of these, say, look, and I write my phone number, and I just call me back. And when I used to do that with business cards, I don't know how many business cards I printed and never got a phone call back. With these, I just give the booklet out, and I would say at least half, if not more, call me back. And they already read it. I don't have now to start, working the business on the phone. I just say, okay, what resonated with you? And they say, well, I thought this one, we're just talking about this one, and tell them what to order, right? And it's pretty easy. And they understand already the concept of an essential rewards or a loyalty rewards concept, where because you want to do something good for yourself or for planet Earth. You don't do that in one day. You do this by doing it every single day, and then all of us and all the world, millions and millions of people keep on doing that. Now we make a difference. Okay? So let's go to something I started talking about 15 years ago. And people were just looking at me, especially professional, like cross-eyed. This guy is just cuckoo, right? Yeah, I am. I have front issues, so I can't be cuckoo. But it's your poop. So, people call me the poopologist or the poop doctor or Ollie Poop or whatever. And for me, that's a badge of honor, right? Because poop, when you look at it, 1 teaspoon of poop has more information on it than all the computers in the world combined. Just think about that. Every single computer that we have today, 1 teaspoon is more information. Why? Because we have all this genetic information in there from all these bacteria that we have in the gut. Right? What do you do with that stuff? You flush it down the toilet? No! Right? You should keep it. No, you should preserve it. Right? So you should have a room, preserve a room where you keep that stuff. It's really cool, right? It's so full of information. So we call this the microbiome. Have you heard about the microbiome? 15 years ago when I said the word microbiome, nobody knew what I was talking about. So the first big microbiome talk I did here at Young Living was when we launched Light 9, right? When we went from Light 5 to Light 9. So I don't know if some of you were already here. And I had a lot of fun on stage, so I'm going to repeat just a little bit of that. So we learned a long time ago that what you have in your poop is extremely important. So, poopology is probably the most important field in medicine, quite honestly. And it's the widest field in medicine because it's involved basically your entire life. So at that time, we just got studies out when people with disease of the gut, like chronic ulceritis and morbus Crohn and how are they called, right? Autoimmune diseases. And we couldn't save them with medical drugs. And so what we did, in medicine, a few people got too smart, they read the original research on the poop. They said, why don't we take poop from healthy people, take a long catheter, mix it a little up in water, and just take a big syringe and just whoosh, go into it. We have a hole back there where you typically get stuff out, but you can get stuff in, right? So we put some stuff in, and we put it into the colon, right? So you can do this with an endoscope, all that, but you can just take a long catheter, it works just fine. And so they were looking what happened. Do you know that all these medicines have about a cure rate of 30–40%, and it's a lifelong medication? If you're one of those patients, you know what I'm talking about. And then you get a poop injection from your neighbor who was pretty healthy, and suddenly you're cured. Cured. There's a 97% cure rate, not just better. You're cured by poop from your neighbor. So that makes you start thinking a little differently, right? And so they took it to the next level. So this is being done in hospitals now, right? And especially in ICUs, where you get big diseases from bad bacteria. We inject poop from other people into your butt, and then that solves the problem. So we don't have to treat you for 4 years with some ultra strong antibiotics and just kill all the bugs that we have in there. Antibiotics, they anti-bug. And so we are probiotics, right? And prebiotics feeding probiotics. So what they did, they looked at first with mice, now they do it with humans, and you're going to see soon a clinic nearby where you either can donate your poop or you can get some poop, right? Either way. And what they did, they took obese mice and they took thin mice, and the study is in the book. And then they took the poop from the thin mice and pushed it into the bowl of the obese mice. You know what happened to the obese mice? It became a thin mice. So the poop was deciding whether you got obese or not, because there's a lot of stuff happening in the gut, repairing the gut wall, not letting proteins into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there, and not getting autoimmune diseases against it. And then they did the opposite. They took the poop from the obese mouse and put it in the thin mouse. And what happened? The thin mouse suddenly became obese within 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So this is just like, so at that time I had a lot of fun. I said, okay, you're recruiting here, right? Let's recruit your neighbor that sits next to you. Don't just, I mean, look who you like, you know, who looks kind of nice. Look around and don't just exchange the business card, exchange a few other things, right? And so this is how you build your downlines now at Young Living. Yeah? You go along the street, you see who you like, and say, can I change the business card and something else, right? So, and then your team grows. So tomorrow, I don't want to just let the sack out of the cat out of the sack, but tomorrow, I think at 11:45-ish, 11:30, something after the whole session, I'm kind of a science nerd talking to you a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the last 2 years of research with the microbiome. And I'm going to surprise you with little things, because we still do that. We still do fecal transplants. We still do food from one to the other, and I'm going to show you tomorrow what's the latest on that. So, the microbiome is so important. And the biggest mistake in medicine, probably in the last 100 years, was that we have been killing. We have been killing every microbe we found, right? I mean, we created all these antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, I mean, antibacterial soaps, antiseptic soap, shampoo, I mean, just name it. We're killing. And we don't realize that we're killing ourselves. Do you know where your immune system is? What is an organ that has an immune system? I mean, you just show it, yeah? Where else? I mean, what do you consider immune system typically? Have you heard about tonsils? Right? Have you heard about appendix? Have you heard about thymus, which is behind your breastbone? Have you heard about bone marrow, where all the immune cells are created? Yeah, exactly. 70% of the immune system is in your gut, the gut wall. We call it, there's a special name, gall, gut, associated lymphoid tissue, then salt, skin. Skin, 15% of the immune system is your skin. And what do you do with the skin? Antibacterial soaps, antibacterial laundry detergent that will rub nicely up and absorb. You're killing your microbiome. On the skin, we call it the stratobiome. And the interesting thing of the last 5 years, 10 years, is we started realizing these guys are talking to each other. The gut talks to the skin talks to the gut, and it balances the immune system. Your emotion today, if you're depressed or happy, you know who's responsible for that? It's the microbes in your gut. There is called the gut-brain axis. And so you put it all together, we know we have a gut-skin-brain axis. Then EMES. So again, you need to read the book. There's a whole chapter on the gut, and then immediately after that comes the brain, and then immediately after that comes the skin. So your brain, your memory, right? Today we have so many people with dementia and Alzheimer's. It's almost like when you're 80, you have 80% with dementia or some form of dementia. When you're 90, you have 90%. When you're 60, you have 60%. It used to be like that with prostate cancer on men. That has changed because people live a little healthier sometimes. But the dementia, the brain function is going downhill right now. And why? Because we're destroying our gut. Right? So the gut, where sits the memory in the brain? So you have, here's the front brain. This is where I go all my information. I process that stuff. Left and right is a little different. Then it goes into the middle brain. There's a few computing power. On the side, of course, are my ears. So there's where language and kind of language processing happens. In the back is what I see here will process there. And then I have a little small brain that gives me balance to walk. And then in the middle is an old brain stem that regulates about everything in your body. But in the middle of all that is a system we call the limbic system. And that's really part of a very old basic brain. And that together with the brainstem does what you do. I mean, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your gut function, all of these things are regulated. And so when you start losing memory, we found, I mean, of course, you get shrinking outside, that's processing power and all that, but then really the memory sits in a place we call the hippocampus. The hippocampus, it's the Greek word for seahorse. And when you look at the seahorse, looking at people with dementia and Alzheimer, the first part you see shrinking away is the hippocampus. And that explains why you have less memory, you have unstable emotions, because emotions and memory are both in the hippocampus, and then also a little bit, it has to do a little bit balance walking. So when you have somebody in the family, and today almost everybody has someone with Alzheimer or dementia, the first thing that goes is, who are you, right? Oh, you're my wife for 40 years, I don't remember you, kind of thing. And then it's like, you know, they wander around at night, they cannot sleep, they're happy 1 minute and then they cry the next minute. That's the emotion, it's all the hippocampus that is shrinking, and so all these on and on switches go away and your brain doesn't process anymore. So you think we're toast, right? We thought about 10, 15 years ago, we said, that's it? No, my God, no. Because when you fix your gut, a lot of that stuff comes back. You can regrow your hippocampus by fixing your gut. You can regrow your immune system. And so now we did a full circle, right? I started being angry because we have this thing going on with these lockdowns and all these mandates because our immune system is too weak. Well, guess why? Because we poisoned ourselves to kill the microbiome, and now we have problems up here, but we also have problems with about 85% of our immune system. And so that cannot go well. So what do? What's the solution? You can read some of that, and it's just cleaning out your house, taking away the toxins, starting using clean makeup, you know, or as clean as possible. If you don't use Young Living, at least read the labels, and really start you know, doing fibers, a lot of fibers. It's good for your digestion, but it's food for the probiotics. Start doing probiotics, get the yogurts out, all these things, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso soups, all these good things that are full of probiotics, right? And that's how you start regenerating. And then, of course, you need to start working on your body weight, right? And so there's many, many tricks. And so you come in a year from now, I hope I'll be ready with everything in English with this new biohacking program, how you boost your immune system in about 3 days, completely reverse it in 3 days, and how you get rid of about 30, 40, 50 pounds within about 3-4 months and make it a new lifestyle. I'm doing this right now in the German-speaking world with my team. We have 2,500 people on the program. And the fantastic thing for me is not just to see, and I don't say weight loss. When you have weight loss, you lose it, and you look for it, and you find it, right? So you don't lose weight, you optimize weight, right? You just get your body back, and you don't have to be like this, right? There's a normal in between. But for me, seeing all these perimenopausal, postmenopausal women who are also estrogen dominant, and even the guys at that age, they can go to the gym. They can go for 3-4 years, and every time they come out, I have to be ready with the defibrillator because they're all sweaty and red-haired and all that, and they just go to exhaustion, and they don't lose anything. Okay? So you do bio-cracking, right? The biohacking. You turn on switches in your cells, and you can do a huge difference. I'm going to give you here the easier. Now I have some stuff in the book about that too. Sleep. That's the easiest way to lose weight is to sleep. That's pretty cool. I mean, everybody can do that, right? So when you sleep less than 8 hours, you automatically will gain weight. Okay, so if you're doing everything right, but you only sleep 5 hours a night, this is why you gain weight. You need to have a sweet spot around 8 hours, maybe up to 10 hours. I mean, you know, there's still a lot of discussion where they look at the sleep duration. Some say 7 hours, but it seems that science right now is kind of zooming in at 8 hours plus minus 1, roughly, so 7 to 9 hours. And what happens is your desires for sugars goes down. Your desire for healthy protein and healthy fat goes up. And so when we look at what the eating behaviors are during the day, you eat about only 2/3 or half the calories when you sleep well. So it's quite interesting to see how much sleep. So if you do any diet programs, if you have a diet program that doesn't look at sleep, it's going to fail. If you have a diet program that doesn't look at your microbiome, you're going to fail. If you have a diet program that doesn't use anything that touches emotions, you're going to fail big time. And what do we have at Young Living? We have essential oils. What do essential oils, especially these wonderful blends now that we have? they hit you in motions. The three products, and let me just do again time, we don't have time in here, so I see, yeah, obviously. And I will talk about that tomorrow again, so just come and listen tomorrow. I hate to see a supplement just as a single supplement. I like to see the whole thing. We have made this mistake in medicine too long. A kidney specialist, liver specialist, eye specialist, this, it's okay if they specialize. But they need still to see the rest, and many of them don't. Right? We need to go back the way we did 200 years ago, Hippocrates, all these, they just looked at the whole, right? And this is what we need, and then you can specialize after that. So when you look at the three supplements now, you know now, right? They announced them this morning. So you look at Power Meal, Ninja Greens, and even the Beauty Collagen. These are three that are going together. I don't want you to just do one of those. I want to basically, what I do, every day I just mix them. I haven't since 3 months because I'm testing them, and I have to write the video, do the videos for you that are playing right now. I guess one of them, and the other one at 3:30. This is harvesting the power of nature. This is what Young Living is all about, right? It's the oils, the soil, the plant, and the plant will always prevail. You're down in your business, on the business side, don't worry. You're dealing with the power of nature. The power of nature always prevails. Look at these cities that have been built hundreds of years ago. They took away the entire jungle. They put not concrete at the time, stone. Look at how they look today. It's all back to nature, right? I hate it. Around my pool, flagstone and concrete in between. Every 2 years I have to go and fix it because plants are coming through. Little plants that are so soft, you can just rub them in your hand. They go to concrete. They're busted open, right? Entire houses are busted. Pipes are busted by tree roots. The nature is powerful, will always prevail. All these three products you see now, Ninja Greens, Inner Beauty Collagen, and Power Meal go together because you have never seen products like these that are so powerful. Just look at Ninja Greens. More than 60 botanicals, 50 of them fermented to have prebiotic, probiotic for your gut. This is all about gut health, right? And then you add 5 medicinal mushrooms to that. They have been used for thousands of years, the mushrooms. And this was one of the wishes of Gary. He wanted to have more medicinal mushrooms. And then, my God, talk about collagen, right? I already saw some Facebook posts. Oh, Young Living is now doing collagen. They're late to the game, right? We're already there. We already had created entire MLMs and other companies. Stand your ground. Do stand your ground. We're not Me Too. We're not copycats. We were the first that had collagen products. 15 years ago, we had something called BLM. It's still there. Bone, ligament, muscle. You know what's in there? Have you looked at the label? It's type 2 collagen. And it's hyaluronic acid. Right? We have all that stuff. And then a few years later, Gary, about 10 years ago, created Agiles. Again, type 2 collagen. And now you see all these companies do type 2 collagen and try to tell you it's for your skin. No, type 2 is for your joint and your bone and your ligaments, right? What you need for your skin is type 1, okay? Because type 1 is for your skin, your nails, your hair, and all that. And then you look a little bit, I don't want to, we're a family-friendly show. We don't put down other companies, but and it's not one specific company. I studied now collagen for more than a year just to look, because we knew we were going to give you that product. It's like, I would say 80-90% of the collagen products out there are bovine. This is type 2. And they try to tell you it's for your skin, you're going to look beautiful. And you still look crappy after 4 or 5 months. It doesn't work. And you're pretty good at jogging at that point because your joints are good, right? So, you just have to understand there's 28 different collagens. Typically 1 to 6 is kind of those that we use in products, and then some products have a mixture, which I kind of like. But if we really do something for your skin and your nails and your hair, it has to be 1, maybe a little bit 3 on top of that. But 1 is really the one. And so then the next thing you do, you go read the labels. So I like that they showed 2 labels, right? And I'm not saying which one it was. I just saw the label. I knew exactly what company that was. But collagen should be number 1 on the label, right? On that product, you saw the other label, there's no way for you to tell how much collagen it is. And so we had to go to complicated calculation, looking at the percentage of the cheap fillers, which, apple juice, what they show today, apple is fine, right? But it's full of sugar, it's probably not, it's just a filler. It's a good antioxidant, so it's not all bad. but it should not be number one in the product. And then you see number 2, 3, 2, or 4, whatever. You don't see any collagen in there. The collagen is under other ingredients, and it's a type 2 when you looked at it. So this is not for your skin, right? So you just have to understand a little bit what this is all about. And so, again, coming back to these 3 new products, get them together. You know, especially Ninja Green, this is such a powerhouse of nature. But you know, eating and drinking grass like a cow is like an acquired taste, right? So you can go and taste it pure. I did it, right? I mean, it's like, and I do it every once in a while, but just mix it into power meal. My God, it's just like, now you get this super duper power meal, and it just tastes great, right? You open the bag, it's like vanilla and a little orangey, citrusy. I mean, just mix it together, and because collagen doesn't have any flavor, mix that also, and that's what I do. Every night, I just put all 3 of them, I shake them, put them in the fridge. I get up in the morning, I drink half the bottle, and then around noon, the other half. There's no such thing like early afternoon tiredness, all you're buzzed up for all day long, and it's just good. Pure power, harvest the power of nature, right? And so there's a lot of stuff about nature here, like, you know, Savvy Minerals is just ground vegetables and minerals. I mean, again, it's just toxin-free, it's nature, right? Power of nature. Influencing your hormones, influencing your microbiome, and with that your immune system. And this is why we need these things. We need just to harvest the power of nature. So the books, again, they're out there. I think they're almost sold out, but they brought new ones. Everyone who buys a book, I will sign it, of course, and then you need to pay it. I don't care. I care, but it's L&SP. So come and do that, and then I have a CBD book, and tomorrow, I think at 4, I'll be talking just a little bit about CBD. So I think we have about 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Yeah. Do you have any questions? I mean, any topic that I touched on? Yeah. And go loud. I didn't put I have new hearing aids because I bought them just before I joined the exclusive Medicare club, and my insurance paid for it, but I don't have them on, so you have to be a little louder. Okay, inner defense, the oil? Okay, so that's a really good question, right? And HK Link just showed a little bit. I understand that those who sit in the middle, the best view, they don't see the slides in the room. So there, I looked up about a year ago. And there's stuff in the book about that too. So you would think thieves and oregano and all these oil inner defense, they kill bacteria. Right? Because we know, why are our oils antiviral, I mean, I should say that, but I say it anyway, there's no contact here, right? Is there any contact here? Any FDA? You have to say yes? Okay, good. So they're all antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. Why? It's not us that put stuff in there like antibiotics. The plant had to defend itself. If the plant wouldn't have these substances in the plant, it would not survive evolution and how God created it. It would just be eaten up all the time and parasites and all that. So this is why these plants have these substances. And when we, of course, distill them, we get some of that into the oil. So that would explain, you know, why we have this kind of activity in many of the oils. And it's well known in the medical literature. So why don't we go to the FDA and say, hey, there's like 100 studies on oregano and how it kills basically all, and sandalwood even better. Why don't we do that? Because if we do that, the FDA will say, yeah, you're right. And now we're going to make it a prescription medicine. And now your oregano, instead of $10, will cost like $400 because I, as a physician, I want $200 and the pharmacist wants another $100, right? So this is why we don't go that loud. It's just like we want to empower you and not healthcare providers. It's you having the power. So when I looked at the studies that looked at essential oils and bacteria, to my surprise, I found there were at that time 7 studies, and now there's a couple more. I just saw we cited a few new studies. That either they do not touch the good bacteria at all, but they kill the bad ones. So when so there's a big question, because people always say, take your Life 9 at least an hour apart from any essential oil you take. So typically people take whatever they do for sleep and then take a Life 9 with it. I don't care. You take your Life 9 whenever you want, together with essential oil or not. There are even studies that show when you take it together with peppermint, the probiotics start growing faster. So there's very interesting studies. So the conclusion in the science part, medical literature, is when you take essential oils together, and you look at microbiome, or they did it in petri dishes basically, you look at, they either have no difference on good bacteria, on the probiotics, or they enhance it. But we saw that they clearly kill E. coli and Klebsiella and some other nasty stuff that you have in your gut that you don't want there. And especially when you get towards being obese, you're changing your microbiome. I mean, let's just talk about that. So here you are, a young mother, you have a little too much weight, and now you have a baby, you're pregnant. And so the baby right now is still isolated, and if you have a chance and you can do vaginal birth, the baby will get some, in the vagina, will get the vagina microbiome, and will get it. And so it will be born, and then you breastfeed, hopefully, and they will get all the skin microbiome while they're breastfeeding. It's very important. But when you're obese, you have a different microbiome than when you're normal weight. I just told you that. We can exchange poop, right? And so when we look at these children at the age of 7 to 10, like about 90% of them are obese. And so it's not that, sometimes it's because the mom is obese because she eats wrong and she cooks wrong, and then the kiddo eats that, and mom and dad are not doing sports, so the kiddo is only doing like this in front of the TV, right? So sometimes social stuff. But even if you do healthy stuff, because even if you're obese as a parent, very often you look out for your children, right? I mean, it's just something we do as humans, and we feed them hopefully healthy, and these children still will be more likely obese. And then when you see obese children, unfortunately, the IQ will go down also, which tells you again, gut-brain axis, right? And that all develops early on. Now, the good thing is you can change these things, right? Not only with food transfer, but you can change it with food and lifestyle, and that's what I'm gonna come out with next year to teach you how to do that, right? I'm doing about 10 different things that turn on and off light switches in your cells to make you healthy, right? From sleep to microbiome to brain to energy. I give you a 7-minute program exercise you do twice a week, and you keep on losing weight all week long, just after 7 minutes here I'm doing stuff. Why does the Biggest, have you seen The Biggest Loser on TV, years ago? So they took these huge humans and really made very nice muscular humans out of them, women and men, right? And they went out around the world. It took about a year, The Biggest Loser, about 9 months. And then they sent them around the world on stages to show people how healthy you can become from starting so big. You know where they are today? All back there plus some, with the exception of one person who had bypass surgery. So what went wrong? All of these people, when we measure today, because they're good study subjects for us, right? I mean, to look at what happens when you go so extreme, you only do one thing, you don't look at the reason why these people were eating too much in the first place. It's in your brain. Typically, you're going to find trauma in childhood, trauma in the family, sexual abuse, I mean, all these things, bullying, all of that, because maybe I was very chunky as a child, and then suddenly I shut up like this, and then when I was a physician, I had no time to eat, I went like this. And then within about 7.5 months, I lost 95 pounds. And that started my whole journey into this whole thing. This is why I went so early on the microbiome, right? So there's many things you can do to do that. So whenever you do something, you need to use your oils, right? Because the oils have really power to do something with your thinking, your emotions. And you cannot go healthy at the end of the day if you have a trauma that just prevents you. And we have so many good oils. It's a different oil for everyone, I would think, right? That you just need to figure out what smell makes you feel so comfortable that you don't overeat. And that was one of the big mistakes with The Biggest Loser. They did not work enough with the psychiatrist and work on emotion. The second big problem is when you go on a diet, please do not do this diet like for 2-3 months without breaking the diet. You have to eat the bad stuff in between. Why? Because let's go keto. Keto is the big thing right now, right? And part of my program is also keto, but it's just a part. When you go keto, meaning you just leave away all the sugars, you eat protein and fats and which is very little sugar, your body starts burning fat, right? And so that's why people lose weight. But the moment comes after about a month where you have about 50 hormones in your body that you never heard of that just have to do with satiety and hunger. And what happens with these hormones, some of them I mentioned in the book also, they will say, oh my God, he's starving to death or she's starving to death. So let's change the hormone levels. And suddenly hormones level change. And what will they do? They will bring down your metabolism because they don't want you to die. And so now when you measure those Biggest Loser people, their metabolism now 10 years later is about 50% down and they don't come up by themselves anymore. And so now they have no chance. They can go back to the gym and do what they did 10 years ago. They're not getting there anymore because the body doesn't work that way. So when you do a program like that, I call them the fire days, you know, after about a month, now you start thinking, you want a pizza or whatever. Pizza is not that bad, by the way. It's just like very small dough, especially when it's the cauliflower dough and a little cheese on it and, you know, I mean, a little vegetable on it. But just go eat your, you know, even your ice cream, I don't care, or your piece of bread, but just for one day. So your hormones start realizing, oh, it's not dying. Okay, good, we can go on. Right? And you need to know all that. And when I look at all these diet books, I mean, very few are nutritionists that really understand. And even the nutritionist is not a medical nutritionist. Sometimes they have no clue what happens with these hormones, right? So again, read in the book. I mean, I think I'm done with my time here. So if you get them here, or just sign them. And if you already have them, and you know, read them one more time. And then tomorrow we'll talk a little about the CBD and what's the future in the CBD and how that world goes on. Okay? All right.